Okay, we are recording and we're just going to wait maybe another minute. See if a few more folks are able to join us live. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm Allison Morris with Full Potential Parenting. And we are going to be doing some tapping tonight. And if you would, in the chat box, let me know where you're from and if you have done any tapping before. Oh, and maybe let me know if you can hear me okay as well, just to make sure the sound is okay. That would be super great. So again, if you're just joining us, if you could let me know if you've done tapping before. Excellent. Okay, it sounds like people can hear me. That's great. Yeah, maybe just let me know where you're coming in from and if you've tapped before. Hey, Linda, I know you.
Hi.
Before. Thanks for joining us. Okay. All right. Yay, okay. Connecticut, Wisconsin, and some other places. So that's great. And, feel free to, you don't have to turn your videos on if you don't want to, but, don't be shy. Okay. All right. So, well, I'm not going to spend too much time explaining tapping because I'd really like to just sort of get into it more than I spend time with it. I do have a lot of tapping resources available on my website, which is full-potential-parenting.com. I've got some web videos on my Facebook page, and then I also have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel as well. So if you just put Full Potential Parenting, you'll find all sorts of things. So just, if later you want to look into it a little bit more, feel free to do that. The biggest thing about tapping that I want to share with everybody tonight just is how helpful it can be for stress relief. So one of the major things that tapping does is lower our cortisol levels. And I think pretty much everybody is under a fair amount of stress right now. And we're probably all suffering from heightened cortisol levels. What with the whole virus going on, a lot of uncertainty that I imagine many are. I don't know what your school systems or your districts or if they've made decisions about the school year for the fall, but as with many parents, of course, I think a lot of us are really conflicted because we may rely a lot on supports at school, either therapists or paraprofessionals or just different sorts of assistance, and also just the break, right, from having our kids around. And of course, we're concerned about their health, and it just seems like the two things seem so incompatible. And so that can create a lot of stress too. So we're going to dive into some of this tonight. So what I'd like for us all to do first is just set an intention first that this tapping will be helpful for everybody on the call who is present now, and that also that it is of service to those who watch and tap along with it in the future. And then I'd just like to invite you to take a couple nice deep breaths in and out with me. We don't do enough deep breathing, and let's just see if we can't already kind of just take a moment, get really present, come back to ourselves. So just breathe in through your nose nice and slowly. And let that out. And again, in through your nose. And out through your mouth. Okay, that already has me feeling better. So just a few brief things about tapping. So formally, tapping is called Emotional Freedom Techniques, or EFT. It's called tapping because we use our fingertips to literally tap on specific acupressure points on our face and our body. in our hands. It has now been studied quite extensively, actually, because it's been around now for maybe 20 years at this point. And it has a really good track record, actually, in studies that either compare its effectiveness to other what are called kind of gold standard therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy or EMDR. But it also, at least as against cognitive behavioral therapy, has been found to work more quickly, and that its effects can also hold more effectively over time. That was in the context of food cravings. But and the other thing I love about EFT is it's super, super, super flexible. It can be used for so many different things. So we can use it to address really bad memories of things that have already happened. We can use it to address our current emotional or physical state. It can be used to address physical pain. It can also be used to calm down worries or fears we have of the future. And it can also work really well on shifting our beliefs, which are often what underlie the emotional state that we find ourselves in. So often we get triggered, not necessarily because of any one thing that somebody has said or done, but because of the meaning that we have ascribed to it. And the meaning is often determined by our belief system. And often it turns out that, especially if I'm working with clients individually, that, you know, underneath a lot of stuff that we have going on are a couple really core beliefs that many, many of us have, which is a fear that we're unlovable, a fear that we are not worthy or deserving of happiness or love or abundance or health in our life. And sort of related to those two is just the sense that we're not enough, we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not thin enough, we're not connected enough, you know, all of these. So it's a lot of baggage to carry around with us. And EFT gives us an opportunity to kind of let some of that go, to set some of that baggage down. And often it can just literally leave us feeling lighter, like we've taken a load off and literally set it down. So enough of the preamble. So what I'd like to start with, and then we can get into some more specifics actually, and I'd love to work with individual people because that's always best when you do tapping, is to be really specific about your exact situation. But for starters, I'd love for us to just do a little bit of tapping on our overall stress level. So take a moment, tune into your body, and notice where you are carrying stress right now. You might be in your shoulders, might be in your jaw. You might have a kind of just an unsettled feeling in your gut. Could be any number of those things. And then I'm just going to invite you to kind of pair it, follow along with me, just repeat after me. So when we tap, we say a setup statement 3 times, and then we go through the tapping points. So I'm going to take you all through these. So take one hand, it doesn't matter which hand, you tap on the other hand's what's called the side of hand point. It used to be called the karate chop point. So if you look up videos online, you'll find a lot of people refer to it that way. And just tap continuously while you say, just repeat the statement that I'm going to say. And this is how statements, setup phrases are usually phrased in EFT. It's even though I have all this stress in my body. Just repeat after me. And then we follow with an affirmation. And the standard one is, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I have got all this stress in my body, and I can't seem to relax, I deeply and completely accept myself. And again, just repeat these words right after me. Even though I can't remember the last time I really felt relaxed, I have been stressed for a really long time. I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay, then we go to the very top of our head. Again, you can use either hand, doesn't make any difference. All this stress. Just repeat this little reminder phrase. Then we go to the eyebrow point, which is the inner point of our eyebrow closest to our nose. The stress in my body. You just tap lightly as many times as it takes, usually 5, 7, 9 times. Very flexible process. We go to the side of our eye, just gently on the bone. Can't seem to relax. Follow that bone under your eye, all the stress in my body. And follow that down under your nose, the stress. And this is called the chin point, but it's really kind of below the lower lip. All the stress. Then we go to the collarbone point. This one can be a little tricky. If you follow your collarbone almost to where they meet, then kind of go diagonally to about 45 degrees outwards towards your armpit. So you find that kind of little notch below your bone. That's where you tap. I like to take all 5 fingers and actually go all the way across my chest. That way you're really sure you get the point. Even if you're a little bit off, it doesn't matter. Cannot seem to relax. And then the last point, this one is the weirdest one, it's called the underarm point. It's about 4 inches below your armpit, about where a bra strap would cross. You can either curl one hand up or you can reach across your chest, tap on the other side. All this stress. Now that's what we call one round of tapping. So just take a nice deep breath in and let that out. Now, sometimes, sorry, you know what? 1 second, I'm just gonna ask my daughter in the next room to be a little bit more quiet here. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. You may, and I just want you to check in. It may be actually just doing that one little round of tapping has already made things feel a little bit better for you. Now, it doesn't usually just take one round like that, but sometimes people feel instantly better. And, just let me know in the chat box if you notice any difference even right away. And if you didn't, that's fine too. Now, often when people tap, they sigh, they yawn, and that is a sign that your body is releasing stress, kind of tension that has kind of been trapped inside. Not everybody does that, so if you don't, no worries here, but just so you know that that can happen, and it's not that you're bored or that you're tired, it's actually a really good sign. So let's just do another, we won't go back to the side of the hand point. Let's just go back to the top. All the stress, eyebrow point. Can't seem to let go of this. Side of the eye, I'm holding on to all the stress. Under the eye, I can feel it in my body. Under the nose, all this tension in my body. Under the chin, I haven't been relaxed in I don't know when. Collarbone, all the stress. Under the arm, ready to release the stress now. And let's go back to the top again. It's safe for me to relax. Eyebrow point. I give my body permission to release the stress. Side of the eye. It's okay for me to let this go. Under the eye. I'm safe when I'm relaxed. Under the nose. Releasing the stress from my body. Chin point. It's okay for me to release the stress. Collarbone. releasing all the stress from my body under the arm, letting go of this stress now. All right, stop there and take another deep breath in. Okay, and I see I've got a question come up here. Let me just see what that says. Okay. What kind of tapping is needed to have a person sleep all night? Okay. Okay. So it sort of depends on why the person can't sleep. So you can tailor your tapping to really anything that's going on in your life. So you can shift the words to make it as specific as you need to so that it fits your situation. So sometimes when people start to tap, they say, I don't know what words to use. I don't know what to say. So a couple things I want to say about that really quickly. One is it's better to tap without words at all than to not do the tapping. So if you get flustered by the words and you can't remember what you should be saying, then just tap. There are tapping protocols, especially used in like refugee camps and in civil war zones where there's a lot of different people speaking different languages or dialects that does not involve any words, and it's very effective. So just do the tapping. Okay, that's more important than getting stuck on the words. But it's also possible to just use the same phrases over and over again and not mix it up, right? You can keep it super, super simple. So in the case of somebody who can't sleep, let's just pretend that you can't shut your mind off. So you could you could do some tapping that just is something like, even though my mind is racing and I can't settle down enough to fall asleep, I deeply and completely accept myself. Or, even though my legs are twitching and I can't seem to relax, it's okay for my body to slow down now. So one of the things that I think can be really helpful when we tap is actually to give ourselves permission to let things go, or to remind ourselves that it's safe for us to release whatever it is that's going on. We have a lot of conditioning and a lot of programming from very early ages that says, among other things, it's not okay to feel what we're feeling. So many of us were taught from a very early age that our emotions were, if not frightening, they were inconvenient or uncomfortable. They made other people feel uncomfortable, right? When children cry, so often they're told, there, don't cry. Everything's okay. When in fact, everything is not okay. And the child has a very good reason for crying. And if we can allow people, if we had been allowed to fully express our feelings at the time when we first felt them, then we could let them go. Our bodies are designed to feel emotions and then to have them move on. The actual word emotion comes from the Latin e movere, meaning like to move. So emotions aren't supposed to be suppressed and to be ignored and to be shoved aside. They're intended to be felt and then released. And the more we resist feeling what we're feeling, it's like we're guaranteed then to have them stick around a whole lot longer. So tapping is one of those things that can help emotions move on along, move up and out. So I hope that kind of helped a little bit about, I kind of talked about more than just the sleep issue, but that is certainly one way that you can address sleep. Really, whatever the issue is, if it's a specific worry that's got you up at night, maybe you're worried about how you're going to pay the rent or the mortgage next month, or pay for new carburetor, or I don't know, whatever it is, right? You just tap on that very specific thing. And what is coming up for you? Is it a fear? Is it worry? Is it doubt? Is it a sort of an anxiety? It almost doesn't matter what you call it, but you really want to name the thing that you're feeling. Just checking on our time here. So one of the things I love about tapping, and then I'm going to invite some people to actually do some tapping with me, is tapping gives us permission to acknowledge really how we're feeling. So again, our culture is not that great at allowing us to be honest with ourselves about how we're feeling. We're supposed to put on a brave face. We're, again, not supposed to rock the boat. It's kind of messy when people aren't feeling that great. Nobody wants to be around somebody who's upset or depressed or angry. And yet, if that's how you're feeling, then that's okay. You get to name that when you tap. It also then, it gives you a chance to feel that emotion, or to feel maybe the pain that you're feeling in your body. If you've got a headache, or you've got, like, maybe you actually injured yourself, or whatever the issue is. And you don't focus on it to keep it around. You focus on it so that you can actually accept it. You can say, you know what? It's like, you say, this is in fact how I am feeling right now. It doesn't mean this is how I'm going to be feeling forever. This is how I'm feeling right now in this moment. And now that I've kind of welcomed it, accepted it, then I can sort of let it go. And then the third thing I love about EFT is that, especially with the affirmation part, but sometimes within the tapping itself as well, we get to say, you know what, I am okay. Even though I yelled at my kids this morning, even though there's a part of me that is desperate for them to go back to school in a month, even though I feel guilty that I want that so badly, even though I'm worried that they might get sick. Or, even whatever the case may be. However you're feeling, you get to still be okay. You're still worthy, you're still lovable, you're still enough. So, okay, so enough. I wasn't going to do too much of the teaching about tapping, but so do I have a volunteer? Anybody who would love to work on something specific with me about something that's going on in their life that they would like to work on? And you can, I'm trying to think how you can raise your hand. I think if you can either unmute yourself or turn on your video if you would like to, or send a little chat. Come on, I need somebody to be brave here. You don't have to give me a ton of details if you don't want to. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you. Okay, whoops, that didn't work. Oh, we're both doing it at the same time. Okay, okay. So what is your name?
Maria.
Maria, okay. Thank you for agreeing to do this. So what is going on with you that you would like some help with?
Okay, you said we don't need to give a lot of details, so that's why I raised my hand.
Yeah, so, but I mean, is there...
Yes, so it's, I guess, performance anxiety in my job.
Okay, so...
Yeah, think evaluating myself not that positively, feeling that as the years go by, I am sort of not as quick and less smart than I used to be, and comparing myself to others and feeling that I perform in a clumsy way in my job, and thinking that I'm being objective about that negative evaluation that I'm making of myself. At the same time, I use a lot of affirmations and coping and work with myself to overcome that. And I always have energy to keep learning and trying, but still I would like to be more worry-free about
Okay.
how I perform in my job.
Is your worry as going so far that you think you might not keep your job, or you just sort of aren't feeling you're just not feeling very good about yourself?
Exactly. I'm just not at moments feel very good about myself. I can sort of let go of it, and when I'm done with my job, I can usually not stuck in it.
Okay.
I can make a break in my life after work, but it's still more stress than I would like to feel.
And are you still interested in your work?
Yes, I love my work.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's good. That's good to know. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we often do, and I forgot to do this with our stress, because this is really helpful, is to rate how you're doing before and then come back and look at it after so we can see whether it's made any difference. And so we usually use a scale from 0 to 10, and 0 is everything is fine, and 10 is it's the worst. So right now, as you think about your job, and so this is more of a belief, it seems to me, like a belief that you're not performing as well as you could or as well as you should. Does that sound correct?
It's a belief, but I believe that I'm objective when I believe this.
Okay, so you think
like I have objective examples.
Okay, so it's a true thing that you're not actually doing a very good job at work. That's your belief.
For me, yes.
Yeah, okay. So how true is that on 0 to 10 scale?
It's a 6.
Okay.
If I look at all the things that I do in my job.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's fine. It's just, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on the rating, but then we can come back later and see whether it feels less true. Okay, it gets a little confusing talking about it when it's a belief as opposed to an emotion, because an emotion you can say how much do you feel that, or how bothered are you by that. So, okay, so let's just go to and everybody, I want you to tap along with us. So here's another cool thing about EFT. There's something called borrowing benefits, where if you tap along with other people as they are tapping, often the thing that's bothering you also is improved, gets better. It has something to do with mirror neurons. It has something to do just with the tapping itself, even though the words that you're using aren't specific to your situation. So everybody repeat along with us, if you would, okay? All right, so Maria, you just repeat after me. So let's tap on it.
I'm just going to also tell a family member to lower his volume. Before.
Yep, absolutely. No, I having done the same thing. So the borrowing benefits thing is kind of cool, because it does mean that you can't find something that is exactly right on point for you. There are a lot of tapping videos online, so you can maybe find other videos that are close, and do some tapping along with other people, and you often still feel much better. Okay, so Maria, here we go, and everybody else tap along. Even though I believe objectively that I am not performing as well at work as I used to.
That I am not performing as well at work as I used to.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I know that I am not performing as well as I used to at work.
I know I'm not performing as well as I used to at work.
And it's really bothering me.
It's really bothering me.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I am being very objective.
even though I am being very objective.
And I know that I am simply not performing as well as I used to.
And I know I am simply not performing as well as I used to.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
At the top of the head, I'm just not performing as well as I used to.
Just not performing as well as I used to.
Eyebrow point, and I have proof.
And I have proof.
Side of the eye. I see it in the work that I do.
I see it in the work that I do.
I'm not as quick as I used to be.
I'm not as quick as I used to be.
Under the nose, I'm just not performing at the same level.
I am just not performing at the same level.
And I'm being very objective about this.
I am being very objective about this.
Collarbone. I know this is true.
I know this is true.
And the arm, and it's really disappointing.
And it's really disappointing.
Top of the head. I don't like feeling this way about myself.
I don't like feeling this way about myself.
Eyebrow. But how can I argue with what's true?
But how can I argue with what's true?
Side of the eye. I can tell in my work.
I can tell in my work.
I have proof that I'm not doing as well.
I have proof that I'm not doing as well.
But I still love my job.
I still love my job.
And I would rather be performing at the same level.
And I would rather be performing at the same level.
Maybe it's just not possible anymore.
Maybe it's just not possible anymore.
I'm just not performing at the same level.
I'm just not performing at the same level.
Okay, now let's stop there and take a nice deep breath in and let that out. Now, before I touch base with you, I want to say a couple things that I didn't mention earlier. One is, you notice that we tap for the most part on negative things, right? We're tapping on all the things that she believes are true, that are wrong, that are bad, that need fixing, right? So, and the reason for that is one, it's how you feel. So it's right. Again, it's that acknowledgement that this is what's going on for you. As opposed to sweeping it under the rug some more, we're saying, no, this is true for me right now. But it also is a way to, if you think about sort of cleaning out a wound before you can put the Band-Aid on, you need to sort of be able to see the grit and the dirt that's in there and clean it out first. So that's one reason why affirmations all on their own may not get quite the same results, because your subconscious doesn't believe they're true, even though you may say them sort of hoping and wanting that they are true, if that makes sense. Let me check in with you though, Maria. You were at a 6, does that feel any different? And it may not. No,
Yeah,
don't.
I think it's a little bit the same. It's maybe a little bit higher in the sense that before it was more intellectual and now it became more of a little bit of a sadness.
Okay.
But it wasn't as bad as I expected, because when we were doing the first demonstration and when I had heard about tapping before, I would feel really uncomfortable saying negative affirmations. So I didn't feel really uncomfortable. It just sort of like softened me not to be as strict and thinking, and just to feel a feeling. And it was a little sad to feel that way.
That's really lovely. So that actually brings up another point about tapping, which is often when we tap, things shift, and they can sometimes shift really subtly. And sometimes we don't realize that something has shifted. Mm-hmm. So now it's coming up, like you said, as an emotion around sadness, mm-hmm. around, and tell me, what is the sadness about? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
You know, it's that sort of type of feeling when you express something to someone else for which you might be a little bit ashamed. Like I would be ashamed of not doing well. And then like upon being heard, you get a little sad because in order to, because it makes you sad. And
Okay.
It makes me a little sad that I should be ashamed of myself in some way.
Okay.
And
All right.
then, you know,
Yeah.
saying it in front of other people, it's both the, would make me a little bit sad to let go of the pride of not showing up as that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a really beautiful realization that you just had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also another really lovely thing that happens often, very often when we tap, is we get these awarenesses or realizations about what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
And often that can be enough just to help us feel better without even doing any more tapping. But let's shift our tapping focus a little bit then to some of the sadness. So let's go back to the side of the hand. And again, everybody can just tap along. Even though I feel some sadness
I feel some sadness
around being ashamed that I believe I'm not performing as well at work as I used to.
that I believe I'm not performing as well in my job as I used to.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
And I just want to pause here and say, I know there's like a lot of layers to what we're tapping on right now, right? So it's just kind of a complex thing, but this still works.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have to be something super straightforward and really obvious. You can get really subtle and nuanced and complex with the tapping that you do. So, okay. Even though I have some sadness around how I'm feeling about myself.
Even though I have some sadness about how I'm feeling about myself.
That I feel I'm not performing as well as I used to.
That I feel I'm not performing as well as I used to.
And that I have some shame around that.
And that I have some shame around that.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
And then one more time, even though when I think about my performance at work, I have some shame around that.
I have some shame around that.
And that makes me sad.
That
I feel that way about myself. I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay, top of the head. This sadness. That I feel ashamed of myself. The sadness over feeling shame. Sadness about the way I feel about my work. Sadness about the way I'm evaluating my work. The sadness about the shame I feel about my work. Collarbone. This sadness. Under the arm. This sadness. Okay, and let's stop there. Take another deep breath for me. And let me just check in with you, see how you're doing.
I felt like I allowed myself to feel the sadness and that it was right to do it. be, as opposed to tensing myself around it. It felt good, even though it was a sad feeling. Then it was changing as we were moving to the different parts. Then I lost my concentration and I was suddenly rationalizing about something. But I feel a little bit lighter, like there's a little bit of an edge off of the tension, of the initial tension. And I am a little bit more at peace with the sadness.
Okay. I didn't ask you to give your sadness a rating, but it has gone down a little bit.
I think it might be like 5 point something. It's
Yeah.
a little bit
Okay.
below
A little bit down.
6. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
like, see, I also feel it like it's moving. It's not fixed. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Right. Well, and so one thing that can happen with tapping is that it also can take some time, sometimes for the full effect to become apparent. And so sometimes after you've tapped on something for a little while, it's best to just leave it, let it go. Now, you don't want to stop, of course. I mean, under ideal circumstances, you would tap on something until maybe you're at a 2 or 3, 1 or a 2, somewhere in there. I mean, if you can get to 0, that's great. And often we can. Somebody will be like, you know what, I just don't, it's just gone. Like, it's gone. I don't feel that, I can think about that whole thing and I don't have any reaction to it at all. If you're kind of struggling though, and you're like, it's just not going down, I don't understand. Again, sometimes it can be helpful to give ourselves permission to let things go. So let's just try one more round. And let's just let's start at the top of the head. Oh, it's okay to feel the sadness.
Oh, it's okay to feel the sadness.
Eyebrow point. I allow myself to feel sad.
I allow myself to feel sad.
Side of the eye. Give myself permission to feel this sadness.
I give myself permission to feel this sadness.
Under the arm. It's safe for me to feel sad.
It's safe for me to feel sad.
Under the nose. This sad feeling.
The sad feeling.
Chin point. I allow myself to feel this sadness.
I allow myself to feel the sadness.
Under the, collarbone. It's okay for me to feel sad.
It's okay for me to feel sad.
Under the arm. Give myself permission to feel sad.
I give myself permission to feel sad.
Okay, let's just stop there. So any change at all?
Yeah, I feel lighter. I definitely feel better. It's hard for me to think it in numbers. If I think it in numbers, I think I'm moving between 6 and 4, and it's, you know, it sort of goes like this, but it's better. It's definitely, yeah, it's definitely a shift.
Excellent. So what I think I'm going to do is I can come back and check in with you a little bit later. So I'm going to see if anybody else wants me to work with them now. And you keep tapping along with the other things that we do as well. And then, you know, also maybe pop in the chat box and let me know whether things continue to shift. But it may be sometimes when we tap, right, there's all sorts of different aspects to something. So, you know, if you are in an argument, say, with somebody, you might be feeling really angry with them. And then you might be feeling really mad at yourself because maybe you said something that you shouldn't have, or that you feel, and then maybe you're feeling guilty because you said something really mean that hurt their feelings badly. And then maybe you're feeling kind of indignant, you know, right? I mean, so And if you can tap on all of those things, and sometimes you don't want to go through all of them, and it's fine. Often it will go away before you have to go through every single thing. But it's nice to sometimes be aware of all the different layers, and you can take off one layer and then try to do a little tapping on the thing underneath. Usually you don't have to address every single thing for the issue to resolve itself. Um, but if you're frustrated and it feels like it's just not happening, try a different tack. Go at it from a different direction, or just stop and let it be and come back and try again later. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. So can I get somebody else who would like to address something in particular that's going on? Maybe something about school, maybe something about your child, again, some parenting thing, or really it could be anything. Yeah, Blair.
I think something, sorry, I joined a little bit late, and I totally don't know anything about tapping. I mean, I don't know nothing, but I've never done it, but I've seen it work on children. But I think something that might be, I don't know, it's worry for other people too, is just this whole situation of what's going on, and how things are just not getting better, and this feeling of out of control that there's nothing you can do, but you can do your own part. But like, then you see people, it's very frustrating to see some of the ignorance that's around, and conspiracy theories and all these things. And it's just so frustrating. And then all these other things that are happening that just make it even worse, like we're waiting to vote. And then like, that the mail, might not be good, might not work, or, it's just like all these things that are happening. And it just gets, like, I think I can deal with, yes, there's a pandemic, I can deal with that. But then all these other things, it just adds to the anxiety. Does that make sense? Like,
yep, absolutely. I think a lot of people are feeling that way.
It shouldn't be happening. And of course I have no control over it, but then it's so frustrating. And then, and then you can't get a break out of that Facebook stream of reading the comments and people you went to high school with, and they're saying
absolutely. Yep. Yeah, let's do some tapping. I think that'll help a lot of people. So if everybody can sort of tune into their level of stress about what we're living through right now, and how out of control you're feeling, and how can't see where the end is, all of that. And actually, Blair, if you want to stay unmuted, and you can be my echo, right? You can be my mirror here. And I don't even want to tap it in the chat box, or just note for yourself, like, how high would you rate your stress level?
I think it's probably, I'm not a big stressor totally necessarily. Well, I like to find things to stress about. So it's like a constant 6 or something, or 7.
Okay.
So
right.
But it's constant.
Okay. And then there might be like a spike when somebody posts some ridiculous thing, or a tweet, or
the news, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Like all these things. And it's like, I can't, and like, what? Like one more thing. And now they're saying this, or my God, there's how many new cases, or all of this stuff, right? It sort of builds and builds and builds and builds. So everybody notice, and let me ask you, Blair, does that show up somewhere in your body in particular, the stress? Do you feel like you're kind of carrying it in a particular place?
I have tried to tune into where I carry stress normally. I think I sometimes feel it in my heart and in my stomach.
Okay. Are you feeling that way right now?
No, I just woke up.
Okay.
I'm in a different zone.
No, that's fine. Okay, well, although that's a good sort of point to bring up. So when you're sort of tuning in about, or you're doing tapping on stuff, you always want to make it like in the present moment. So even if it's about something that happened earlier that day, or last week, or when you were 6, you always want to be focused on how you're feeling about it right in the moment. So not like how much it scared you at the time when your dad thought he was playing a joke on you and like, you know, scratched his fingernails on the window outside your bedroom on Halloween night or whatever, right? But like now when you think back to that time, how much does it still get you like, you know, anxious
Yeah.
or whatever? Okay, so it's always in the present moment.
Okay.
And so that's fine. So if you're not feeling any sort of somatic stuff right now, that's not a problem. But everybody else just kind
I think I feel a lot of stress here. I don't know, but like I'm always very tight here,
Okay.
and even feel like tingling in my arms and stuff. And I think that might be part of it too. It's just the constant kind of, maybe I'm always hunching or something
hunched
like that.
over kind of. Okay. Okay.
I don't know if
All
I'm,
right.
yeah, I have terrible posture, but like, I definitely feel tired here, right
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Okay. What do you call this? What do you want me to?
I don't know, in my shoulders, I guess, or it's more like, this area. I don't know if that's part of the
Okay.
nodes or what, but
Okay.
yeah, like I always want to like
Okay.
stretch things back. Yeah.
Oh, pardon me. Okay. All right. So everybody, let's go to the side of the hand point. And Blair, if you repeat after me. Okay. Even though I this situation feels so out of control,
the situation feels so out of control,
and there doesn't seem to be any end in sight,
there doesn't seem to be any end in sight.
and it's like my anxiety is at a constant 6.
And my anxiety is at a constant 6.
I deeply and completely accept myself,
I do completely accept myself.
even though I keep reading all these news stories,
Even though I keep reading all these news
and I
stories,
can't stop reading the comments.
I can't stop reading the comments.
And it seems like there's always some new crazy thing that people are doing,
Always seems to be some crazy new thing that people are doing
or that they're not doing.
or they're not doing.
And it just drives me crazy.
This drives me crazy.
And I can feel all this tension in my sort of upper body.
Yeah, I feel like all this tension in my upper body.
I
Yeah.
deeply and completely accept myself,
I do completely accept myself.
even though I have no idea when this is going to end.
Even though I have no idea when this is going to end.
And I try to do my part,
Try to do my part.
but it doesn't feel like it's enough, really.
Is
Is that true?
I feel like it's enough. Yeah.
But
There's a lot of guilt.
Oh, okay. I'm even carrying some guilt because what more can I do?
Right.
Yeah, it leaves me feeling kind of helpless.
Yeah, I feel kind of helpless.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Okay, top of the head. This out of control feeling.
This out of control feeling.
Eyebrow, what can I do?
What can I do?
Decided I feel like there's only so much I can do.
I feel like there's only so much I can do.
Under the eye, this kind of helpless feeling.
Kind of helpless feeling.
Under the nose, in a state of constant stress.
I'm in a state of constant stress.
I feel all tight and hunched over.
I feel tight and hunched over.
Just never seems to go away.
This never seems to go away.
Oh, that's part of me. Okay. Under the arm. I don't know what I can do.
I don't know what I can do.
It doesn't feel like top of the head. It doesn't feel like I'm doing enough.
It doesn't feel like I'm doing enough.
Eyebrow point, but I don't know what else to do.
I don't know what else to do.
I decided I can't wear masks for other people.
I can't wear masks for other people.
Under the eye. I can't stay home for other people.
I can't stay home for other people.
Under the nose. There's just a limit to how much I can control.
There's just a limit to how much I can control.
I guess I could turn off the news.
I guess I could turn off the news.
I could stop reading all those articles.
I could stop reading all those articles.
But I need to feel informed.
But I need to feel informed.
it feels like I'm, helps me feel connected to other people when I know what's going on.
It helps me feel connected to other people when I know what's going on.
And don't have a lot of connection otherwise,
I don't have a lot of connection otherwise,
because we're not supposed to be seeing each other.
because we're not supposed to be seeing each other.
It's such a strange way to live.
Such a strange way to live.
And we've been doing it for months now.
We've been doing it for months.
And it feels like we're going to be doing it for a whole lot longer.
It feels like we're going to be doing it for a whole lot longer.
This kind of trapped feeling.
This kind of trapped feeling.
Or this helpless feeling.
This helpless feeling.
Okay, let's stop there. Ooh, it's making me yawn. I don't know if I'm the only one yawning with my tapping, but
Does that mean it's relaxing you or something?
I'm sorry.
Does it mean that's relaxing you?
Oh yeah, yeah. So you missed that part, I think. Yeah, the yawning and sighing is part of. It's one of the reasons I know how tapping is working for me, because it's just letting go of some stuff. I'm yawning again. Just talking about yawning. So, tell me, Blair, that was just a few rounds. That took us what, 5 minutes maybe?
So I don't know if it's just the tapping, but I feel a little bit more like blood is circulating better, actually. And I didn't, so I caught on when you were with that last woman, and you were talking about how you're tapping through some of the negative ideas to kind of flush them out.
Yes.
And I didn't know that's what you did. So so that was very interesting to me. And so the language, the talk is interesting. Like, it's like accepting these negative ideas and then so the tapping is maybe moving them through.
Yeah, exactly. So some people, wow, sorry. Some people get a little concerned, especially like if you're familiar with law of attraction work, right? Where you want to keep your vibration high, and you want to, the idea that what you put your attention on, or what you focus on is what you're magnetizing into your life. And so the idea that you're going to focus on, so I'm going to it's been getting darker outside, turn on a little bit more light here. The idea that you focus on negative things means that you're like going to keep it in your life longer. But I think it's really exactly the opposite. It's actually saying, you know what? Okay, I'm acknowledging this. This is actually how I'm feeling right now. And then it can move. So you've probably heard the sort of little aphorism or whatever, what you resist persists. But
Right.
it really is a sort of a true thing, right? That the more we sort of pretend that we're not we're not feeling a certain way, or we ignore it, we just keep it around longer. And so if we can sort of be honest and really say, you know what, yep. And I encourage people to swear if they want to swear. If people need to get really, really pissed off, totally fine, completely legitimate. Again, especially a lot of these big emotions, the ones that we tend to think of as bad or unacceptable or impolite, right? We have all these sort of cultural connotations that we put around a lot of emotional expression. And it's very stifling. And if we can just feel these things and let them go, then move on along. They really aren't going to stay with us forever. Now, I will say as a caveat, for us as parents of kids with a lot of challenges, when you've got stuff like that that's happening day after day, maybe happening hour by hour, you can't necessarily expect you to kind of be able to just let that stuff go once and for all, like one time, one and done, right? Because it's sort of this persistent thing. I do think you can make really good progress with a lot of those things. and you can shift a lot of beliefs about like what it means if your kid swears at you, or how you feel about yourself as a parent, or sadness or envy over how simple or easy other families seem to have it, right? Or some of the things that they get to do that you don't get to do with your kids, right? All that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff I think can be really, really readily addressed. But some things do take longer. They are more complex, and if they're, again, if they're persistent, they're insistent, they're like in your face all the time, that can be a little harder to sort of address really quickly. And again, like this sort of situation, it really depends, I think, a lot too on kind of what your belief systems are underneath a lot of this. So if you generally believe that the situation is really scary, lots of people are going to die, our economy's falling apart, you know, like a lot, right? Those are pretty heavy, heavy things. Now, if that's the way you're feeling, again, better to just like admit it than sort of pretend that you don't actually really feel that way, or you don't really believe those things. I'm sorry, I lost sort of my train of thought about where I was going with all that. But anyway, let me check with, okay, I think I have another chat.
One question. So
Yeah.
do you, like every day, maybe doing that tapping, starting tapping on the head, tapping on the side, tapping underneath here, tapping on the collar.
Eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose,
Oh,
chin,
under the nose.
collarbone, and then under the arm.
Okay.
Again, I was saying I have a lot of resources on my website, and also on my Facebook and YouTube pages. So you can find a lot of extra videos too about like more background on how to tap.
Okay.
But yes, tapping every day really is a wonderful way, like just as a part of your self-care routine, can be really wonderful. It's great to do in the shower. Even if you did just like 2 or 3 minutes of tapping, it can really help. You might start your day that way. You might do it at the end of the day, right? You know, as you're going to bed, just like a nice way to kind of calm your brain down. So one of the things tapping does as well is that it can shift your brainwave state. So a lot of us spend a lot of time in beta or high beta brainwave frequency, which is it's pretty frenetic. A lot of multitasking, that's what monkey brain, kind of monkey mind sort of
Yeah.
thing, where
Yeah.
we're ruminating a lot. We've just got swirling thoughts, and
It's
we're
me.
not calm, we're not still, we're not actually in the moment. Like we're everywhere but right here, right now.
Right.
And tapping can help shift your brainwave state into an alpha state, which is associated with light meditation, kind of a calm, alert, creativity, kind of that sort of space. So just a nicer place to inhabit, especially as you're going to bed. So let me just check on this question. Okay, from Diane.
Thank you.
Oh, has to leave. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That was just a thank you, not really a question. Okay. So yeah, but so Blair, I did want to just check in those to see how you know how are you feeling? Like, did anything shift? You know, we didn't do a ton of tapping. We just did a little
I
bit.
I actually feel like the other woman said, I feel a little bit lighter or something.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
like feel it's running, you know, like my blood is running through me better or something. And so like, yeah, I do feel, I actually do feel something. And like, I don't know if that's just, you know, belief, placebo or whatever, but I feel something and I want to try again tomorrow or tonight and see because it's exactly right. Like I am in that beta state constantly and I'm thinking about things all the time and worrying about people I have no control over. My life is good, actually. I have a great life. But you know, I know there's other people who are suffering a lot more, and I worry about them. People I don't know, you know, just people out there.
Okay.
I do feel like I feel a little bit better from the tapping actually. Like up here, I feel like the blood is circulating better or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely can. It can affect all of that stuff. It can affect your
Uh,
thoughts. It totally affects your physiology. There's no question about that at all.
yeah.
The other really lovely thing about tapping is it sends calming signals to your brain. So if you're feeling, again, you like a lot of anxious thoughts or a lot of scared thoughts, a lot of, sensing danger. One of the things about this whole stay at home kind of thing, right? I've seen Dr. Porges write about this actually, who's the author of polyvagal theory. Right, we are wired for connection and relationship. It's one of the primary ways that we co-regulate our nervous systems. We are fundamentally like tribal beings. We need each other, and and with the social isolation, social distancing, it is depriving us of a really key way of soothing our stress response at exactly the same time as we're getting all these bombarded by messages that are telling us danger, 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 death, death, disease, right? Really kind of horrific things, right? Your children could die if they go back to school, right? I mean, that's dire, right? And then again, you're like, but I can't, like, I'm dying. I got to get my kid out of the house. Like, we need space. I need our help. We need our, like, they're not learning anything, right? All this stuff. And it's just so easy to get caught up in this swirl. And so exactly at the time as we're getting all these danger messages, we're also denied the interaction that would help soothe us to
Yeah.
the point, right, where in fact, other people are the source of danger, even though,
Yeah.
right, because you can't see the virus, you don't know who has it, who might have it, who might breathe on you, right? It raises all this really contradictory, confusing responses in our nervous systems. That is really unfortunate. So that's
So
another
if
reason.
I'm feeling anxious today, should I just start to do like a 3-minute tapping? I start.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? So some people, again, some people get confused. They're like, I don't know what to say. The setup phrase gets people confused sometimes. I like it because I think it helps um, kind of organize and focus what you're going to, like, the topic of your tapping. The more general you are,
This part, you start out with this. You
so
normally do
not
that.
here, but the side of your hand.
Oh, okay. And you say
Side.
something that the negative thing that's in your head right
Yeah,
now.
you're saying, even though I
Even,
have this feeling, or I'm scared about this, or I'm feeling guilty, or I believe, whatever it is, even though I state your problem, and then the affirmation, the one that's been studied the most is I deeply and completely accept myself. Now, you can shift that around too. You can say, I forgive myself for having these feelings. You can say, I accept all my feelings. Another nice way to do tapping sometimes is to also acknowledge that you're conflicted. So, even though there's a part of me that really, really wants my school to open in person, in the fall, so my kid can go back to school. And there's another part of me that is horrified that, they're all going to get sick and some of them may die. I deeply and completely accept both parts of myself. You can do that kind of tapping. You can, you can make it into anything that fits what's going on for you. So um, I just encourage people to be very, very inventive. If you're teaching it to your kids, which is another lovely thing you can do, You know, you're probably not going to use quite the same language. We can say like, I know I'm still a great kid, or I know I'm going to be okay, or, you know, my mama still loves me. You know, even though I yelled at my brother today and she got really mad and whatever the case is, right? Obviously, you can tailor it to the age of your kid, but you can change the affirmation so it works, and is not, is just more appropriate to their age. Um, And then, you know, they can learn how to tap. The kids often think it's really funny. As young kids think it's funny, right? They can do like, I think this looks like a gorilla. This one really looks like a gorilla. You know, and I mean, you can make up little songs. People have done all sorts of really creative things with tapping with kids. And often they clear things so much more quickly because their energy systems are a lot cleaner.
Mhm.
And you can explain it to them. And sometimes this works with adults too, is, you know, it's like, so you don't have to talk about rivers of energy, but if you think about like your body is like a little stream, and you know, stuff happens in your life and it's like a log falls across the stream, and then there's a storm and a bunch of leaves fall in there, and I don't know, maybe an animal, you could make it really funny for a kid, like maybe an animal like pees in the water, right? It just gets clogged up with all this stuff, right? So what you're doing is like you're just unclogging things so that things run more smoothly. So even like what you were talking about, like it felt like your blood was just running a bit more cleanly or
Mhm.
freely, that really is what you're doing. You're like unclogging your energy systems. I mean, really what we're working on are the meridians in our bodies, which, you know, were discovered by the Chinese 2,000 years or at least ago now. And each of the points that we tap on are associated with different points on different meridians. And the meridians, I'm trying to remember now if there's 12 or 13 major ones. They're named for organs. So there's a heart, a lung, a kidney, a spleen, a bladder meridian. There's a central meridian. There's a governing meridian. So, and when we tap, we're tapping on points that tend to be closer to the skin. And so they're more kind of conducive to getting really what's an electrical charge from the end of your fingertip. There's actually little devices that you can buy on Amazon. I can't remember what they're called now, where if you put them on the acupressure points, it will beep because it senses the electrical current that is closer to your skin on those points. Um, so it's, which is kind of cool. But really what you're doing is if you think about, I don't know, like unclogging the drain, removing the debris, you're just getting things moving, right? So you can breathe more deeply. So you can be, and I mean, you know, he called the founder of EFT, Gary Craig, I mean, he named it emotional freedom techniques for a reason, right? So that you can be free, emotionally free. You can feel your emotions. You're not bogged down by them. And sorry, I'm kind of waxing on here a bit, but it really is, it is a remarkably simple technique that has um, really an astonishing level of effectiveness in all sorts of conditions. So I'd also encourage people, like if you get a headache, you get a tension headache, you get a migraine, um, you know, you can tap, describe the pain. Like the more specific that you are generally when you're tapping, usually the better the result you'll get. So not like I'm just so pissed off at my kid or my spouse or my mom. Like when my mom, you know, even though I'm like furious that my mom said this specific thing, right? Name it. I deeply and completely accept myself, right? So you want to be as specific as possible. Um, I'm trying to think, I'm sorry, I think I started off responding to your question and I kind of went off on a little tangent there, but it's, I get kind of excited about it because it's a really neat, it's a really neat.
It was just like, what is this part, first part? And it's, so to reiterate, it's an affirmation. It's an affirmation. First you say, even though, and you state the negative thing that's going on in your mind. Then you can say, I totally and completely accept myself.
Mhm.
or it could be actually in complete accept the situation, or
Yep,
just my,
I accept it. Yep, I accept. Yeah, or if you're
or
really
like you said with the kids, you could say, but I know I'm still a good person, even though
right,
even
I'm gonna be okay, right? Or
though,
you can say if you're really, if you're really, really upset or you're really feeling, like right here, right now, everything is okay. Or I'm perfectly safe where I am right now.
okay.
Or I know I'm doing the best I can. Or something like, I know I don't have to figure this all out right now.
And then when you go around the
Yeah.
meridians, what do you say? What's the
You
main?
can say a little reminder phrase, and it can be as simple as the stress, the stress, the stress, the stress, or you can get much more specific. Um,
But you're talking about the things that are going on in your mind.
the
So
thing,
if you're
yes.
like, my friend said something mean to me, and it made me feel sad.
Yeah, I can't
Um,
believe she said that. I can't, she called me that name. Nobody's talked to me that way since, so and so in sixth grade. Like I can
right.
feel my heart racing,
Okay. But
um,
then you're vocalizing what's going on.
yes, yes. In fact, I
Okay.
like to suggest to people too that like if they're it's really easy to like get on the phone and just kind of complain to people, right? You talk to a friend, you call up a spouse, whatever. Like just tap while you're relating the thing that happened. And
Okay.
I can't believe. And then I went into the room and they did like, what did she do to my towels? And I told her not to wipe off her makeup on my towels. That's like one I've like had an issue with, right? And I can't get the damn lipstick off it, whatever, right? Just just take advantage of the times when you would normally be sort of complaining about something and do the tapping. You can make it kind of work in all sorts of situations. I do it when
But
I'm
then
driving
you,
sometimes.
you wrap up with that affirmation again. So I can't believe she didn't make it off, but
Actually, you don't, but you can. You can. But
okay.
here's the deal. People sometimes think, you know what, I don't, this tapping is like all negative. I'd rather do tapping on positive things. And you can completely tap on positive things. But don't do it until the negative stuff has subsided sufficiently, right? So if you're still really pissed off, it's not probably going to be all that effective to say, like, I love my life.
Okay.
You want to first address the stuff that's how you're really feeling, not how you want to pretend, how
Okay.
you would rather feel. Now, having said that, I think it also can be really lovely to do sort of tapping meditations almost, where you really are just trying to take on or kind of solidify beliefs that you really want to make true, like affirmations.
Okay.
And that I think can be nice, but you want to be already in a place where you're feeling pretty good before you do that kind of tapping, I think.
Okay.
Or I don't think it's really all that helpful.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You like I said, you want to flush out the negatives first. And so this meridian thing is I'm saying out loud the things that I'm thinking.
I think it's more effective if you say it out loud, but if you're in a place where you can't speak out loud or you're in public or maybe you're trying to go to sleep and you don't want to bother, you know, person you're sleeping next to, or it just feels more whatever, you can certainly not say things out loud. And I was saying earlier, there is a form of tapping where you don't speak at all,
Okay.
and it's still effective. It may not be quite as effective, but it's still effective. You can even, I think, after you've done some tapping and your body kind of knows tapping, you can just imagine yourself tapping and you can still get good results, right?
Okay.
Because your brain doesn't know the difference between something you're imagining and something that you're actually experiencing. So just like the downhill skier is going to practice the run, in her mind, or the basketball player, whatever, or the pianist, like they see themselves playing the piece before a concert. You can do the same thing with tapping, where you see, like, you just imagine yourself going through the points.
I
Um,
just mean we're, even if it's in our mind or out loud, we're stating these negative things, because I think a lot of the times we don't want to say it. We don't want to actually admit it. Or
Yep,
so
and that is a very good point. I think there's a
we-
power in actually acknowledging it.
yeah.
And in
Okay.
some cases, it's a relief to actually hear yourself say it.
Yeah.
So I do think there is a great power in that. It can be really cathartic to just admit some things that you might actually even feel a fair amount of shame around.
Hmm.
So if you were to say, you know, I I really don't like my kid right now. Like, you know what? If she walked out of the door and never came home, like I'd be okay with that. Sounds awful, right? But if that's how you're feeling, and then after you've tapped on that a little bit, then you can tap on, even though I feel guilty for ever having thought that, you know, I deeply and completely accept myself anyway. You can go that way too. Does that make sense? So I love how it allows us to be really brutally honest with ourselves, and not hide behind a little mask or veneer that everything's okay
Hmm.
when it's not. And
Right.
you may have been pretending that it's okay for a really long time, but that's a lie. Um, and so there it can be just a really lovely release to finally saying what it is that your heart's been, you know, has been in your heart, been in your mind for a long time, but you haven't really been admitting to yourself. So so how are you feeling right now, Blair? And other people, feel free to put in the chat about like how you're doing as well. Like, is your stress level down? Is your
Yeah. I want to. I can't wait to try it again when I'm feeling, when I am feeling more stressed out about something.
okay? Okay.
So thank you. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
absolutely. Appreciate your questions. Yeah. And Maria, I want to just check in with you again as well too, and just see if you're, you know, the um, how you're doing as well. Is anything shifted anymore, or are you still about the same?
Um, I feel good. I mean, it was a positive shift. I'm definitely feeling lighter. And I was thinking that part of it is that when you were saying those things, that the negative things that I was thinking and feeling about myself, I was totally relating. I felt like you totally understood how I felt. So I think it helped also decrease the shame, because it sounded like you were accepting also.
Yeah, actually, that's a really lovely point. So I want to say two things about that. One, with very few exceptions, I was only saying exactly what you said to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? But but um, when you work with somebody else and it's sort of reflected back to you, that can be it opens space for you in a different way sometimes than when you do tapping just by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the really nice things. So people sometimes say, well, tapping is a self-help technique. Why would I ever work with a practitioner? Right? Isn't that just a
Mm-hmm.
waste of money? Or, you know, what do you get from it? And it is surprising sometimes how much easier it is to tap on things. So even if I only use your words and we tap on exactly the same thing that you've just told me about,
Mm-hmm.
doing it in the presence of somebody else who's sort of holding a space for you is can be a really, really lovely thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
think generally speaking, people tend to get better results when they tap with someone else. So I tap with somebody every week myself. Like I work with another practitioner and we trade tapping sessions every
Mm-hmm.
week. And it's just easier, right? Because you can sort of unburden yourself and say, okay, help me deal with this. Um, And that can be really lovely. Sometimes
Mhm.
it feels like a little onerous to kind of have to figure it all out yourself
Mhm.
about what you're going to tap on. So anyway, so I'm glad that you're feeling better. So then what I might suggest um, for you then would next is maybe to like examine that belief a little bit more about, you know, is it really true
Mhm.
what you believe about your performance at work? But
Mhm.
then next, right, if even if it is true, even if it is true that my performance isn't what it used to be, then maybe I'm not as quick or smart or as, you know, flexible as I was 15 years ago. I still love my work. I know I'm still contributing, and you know, you can create things like that to sort of
Mhm. Mhm.
um, turn it around a little bit so that it's not feeling quite so heavy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's one way that you can kind of shift from the negative into sort of more of a positive sort of thing.
Mhm.
So, so I know it's late. I thought maybe we could just wrap up really quickly by doing maybe a little bit of tapping on some better stuff, right? So I kind of always like to leave with a little bit of that. So if everyone wants to just go to their side of hand point, you can repeat after me. Even though the world feels pretty crazy right now, and there's no telling when it's going to feel any better, I deeply and completely accept myself, and I choose to know, what do I want to say? I choose to know that everything is happening for me and not to me. Even though I don't understand why all this is going on, and I may never fully understand it, I deeply and completely accept myself, and I trust that everything is happening for a reason. Even though it just feels kind of nuts right now, and I don't have any control over most of what's going on, and I don't like feeling that way, I choose, well, I deeply and completely accept myself, and I choose to accept that when this is all over, we'll be living in a better world. Top of the head. It's a crazy time. I feel kind of helpless. Side of the eye. Don't much like feeling that way. And I'm worried about people I love. Under the nose, I'm worried about people I don't know. Chin point. I'm worried about this world we live in. Collarbone. There's just a lot to worry about right now. Under the arm. All this worry. Top of the head. I don't have to figure this all out myself. Eyebrow. I choose to know that everything is happening for a reason. Side of the eye. I don't have to understand it to believe that. Under the eye. Choose to know that things are happening for me, not to me. Under the nose, I can trust in the universe, God, source. Chin point. I don't have to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. Collarbone. I can set down some of this worry I'm carrying around. Under the arm. I give my permission to not worry so much. Okay. And everybody take a nice deep breath in. Let that out. So thank you for joining me tonight. I really enjoyed it. I hope that you're all feeling a little bit lighter, a little bit better. Be sure to drink a lot of water, or I've got some herbal iced tea here that helps kind of move the energy, generally just good for us anyway. And definitely let me know if you're interested in looking into doing any tapping individually with me. And I don't know if I'll be offering any classes coming up. I may, maybe, not sure. But otherwise, feel free to shoot me an email with any other questions on tapping, or let me know if anything big shifted after some of the tapping we did tonight. So thank you very much. And I will also send out this recording probably tomorrow. It takes a little while for it to process. So if you want to go back and listen again and tap along later, you'll be able to download it. So
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
absolutely. Thanks everybody for joining me. All right. Good night.
Right.